So I had a question thinking about today, and it was like, well, how can karma or the awareness of karma help me have more inner peace, right? And how does it connect to my practice and my practice of mindfulness? And I realized that there are some connections here. So I wanted to share with you some of the thoughts that I had around this. And as you know, this the beginning of this year, we have been talking about the five remembrances, and hopefully we are remembering them often enough so that they can actually bring the fruit that they can, right? So as a matter of just summarizing things again, these are the five remembrances are these. I am of the nature to age. And I always like to add the we. I think they're kind of heavy in a way, so it's good to like add it's all shared humanity. We all will experience these truths. I am of the nature to age, and so are the rest of us. I am of the nature to get sick, and so is everyone else. I am of the nature to die, and so is every other being on earth. All that is dear to me and everyone I love is subject to change. Everything is subject to change constantly for all of us. And here comes the fifth, right? I am the owner of my actions, heir to my actions, born of my actions, related through my actions, have my actions as my arbitrator. Whatever I do, for good or evil, to that I will fall heir. So this is the thing with karma, right? This fifth remembrance has offers us more autonomy or more action compared to the other ones, right? The other ones are facts of life. Karma is too, but the other ones, we're born, we live, we may get sick, we'll die eventually, we'll lose things, and we have free will, right? And there's things that we can do, and whatever we do has a consequence, whether it's big or small. So this is where the liberating part is, right? To point out that life is uncertain and everything changes can give us some anxiety, but to know that we are going to own the result of our actions can stress us sometimes, right? Depending on the actions that we're engaging on, but can also give us hope and support. Like, oh, okay, they will have an effect. And the effect that I tend to see more prevalent for me and for others when I'm speaking is the effect in their own mind, right? How is the consequence of my actions affecting my own mind? I think there's an understanding of karma that can be connected to punishment or reward, right? I did something good, I'll get a reward. I did something bad, I'll get a punishment, and that's a way to see it. And that's certainly, in levels of development as children, this is how we learn, right from wrong and to train ourselves. But we know that there's people who've done awful things who are getting nothing bad is happening to them, right? There seems to be like no justice. Just look at the world and it's like, what? I mean, really, I don't get it. And so sometimes it's like karma may take lifetimes. That's a whole other conversation, right? In Buddhism and Hinduism. And it's like you may not see it in this life, but in the next life. Many of us here maybe are not sure about this whole next life or multiple lifetimes. And even if there are multiple lifetimes, here we are in this lifetime having to make decisions and choices at every moment, right? So how can we orient ourselves in the direction of let me just not create karma that will hurt me or others, right? And this is where I think mindfulness or mindfulness practice can be really useful. And I'm the practice of mindfulness here, we will sit in a few minutes and practice this mindful breathing, mindfulness of the body. You'll access your own very personal practice. And then most of us, I'm assuming, want to go throughout our day being pretty mindful, just aware of what we're doing. And when we get to into our self or into our ego, we can just detach and observe that, right? Observe where we are and just realign our actions. So, because my point for today is that with mindful awareness, we can pay more attention to our actions and what comes just before, which is that intention, right? The intention that lies right before we do something. Because we're always doing something consciously or subconsciously. We're doing something with our speech, We're doing something with our actions. We're doing something with our thoughts. If it's subconscious, that's a whole other story. Maybe we don't have that much agency until we become more conscious, but we have a pretty good awareness of what may be going in our mind, right? So how can we be more mindful in order to pause and choose a wiser action so that our next step will not be generating hard karma or negative karma or unwholesome karma, right? So, in terms of, there's a phrase that I love by Viktor Frankl. I'm sure many of you have heard about Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist, Holocaust survivor, developer of logotherapy. I love him. There is a quote that says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Right? It's that pause between stimulus and response. I've discovered that mindfulness practice for most of us helps us open that window a little bit more, right? We're able to be like, this landed like harshly, or I didn't like this, or I love this, whatever it was. We're able to notice what happens and know that there's a time where we can pause and choose how to react. And this is where our freedom lies in what is the karma that we're going to create when we respond to something. Now, for today, I just want to um, hopefully get us all to think about how we are creating our own, I guess, mental health karma, so to speak, our mood. How are we the creators of our own mood, right? In any given day. And it's going to be, we wake up, we have like the whole day ahead of us. We will take a number of actions throughout that day. And by night, we will feel the result of all of those actions, right? So to share just a simple example, and this has been something that I've struggled with throughout my life. It's getting a lot more manageable now, but it's been really frustrating, and it's been like anxiety, just eating out of anxiety. So whenever I'm going through periods of stress, I'll get the munchies, right? It's just like I need to go and get some food and grab some food. And yes, it calms down the anxiety. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. But then afterwards, it's like, okay, that was not the idea. I know I wasn't hungry. I know I didn't eat out of hunger. It was just a way to calm my anxiety. But now, afterwards, I'm feeling like I don't have enough discipline. What kind of mindfulness practitioner am I that I'm not being very mindful in this sense? And so I got to a point where I said, okay, maybe the immediate result is I'm stressed. I'll eat something, the anxiety will ease, but then later on, right, I'll be the heir to that karma, which is I will maybe judge myself in some way. So when we know the consequences, and this is, of course, mindfulness practice that gives us this clarity, when we know where we will end up, we can look at our day again and say, what are some of the actions that I know I may be prone to that I want to stop doing? This is about like breaking habits. So the idea, seeing karma and habits and mindfulness as all relatable can be very useful. And my invitation to you is just think about, maybe one little habit that you have. You're still a good person, like Bill says. I'm still a good person, even though I'll extra snack when with a lot of stress, right? But we can see like there's this habit that I have that is not affecting anyone else, right? No need to feel guilty or anything like that. It's just me with me, right? But the action that I take, my intention, right? So let's say an event happens and we'll want to respond in a particular way. We'll have an intention to soothe ourselves, like Bill says, right? We just need to learn how to soothe ourselves. But our go to may be a cigarette or alcohol or food or something that we wish it wasn't so. So, how can we just pause, take a moment to realize what is it that I'm looking for right now? What is that positive intention? And what are the options that I have, right? And out of these options, which one is the one that, if I take it into the future, will lead me to feel better afterwards at the end of the day? How will I be free of remorse, of that critical inner talk? What will be the best action to take, right? And if we've been practicing, and we all have here, the response will come. We just need to slow down, maybe to place our hands in our heart as we ask deeply, what is it that I'm feeling right now? What is the intention that is bubbling? What is the action that I am about to take? What is the most skillful path to get there so that I don't have regrets? And so I wanted to end with, let me see, with this suggestions. These are serving suggestions, right? Ways to cultivate this peace of mind throughout our day, thinking about karma and mindfulness and free will and habits and all this complexities that we have. So, one thing that has helped me in particular, and I'm passing this along, is to begin the day remembering the remembrances, of course, right? And taking a moment to establish an intention for the day. May I meet this day with kindness, or may I meet with day with compassion, with patience. Different days bring different things, and we may have an idea of what the day will be asking of us, right? So you set the intention, and by setting the intention, by really letting it soak in, it's easier for our brains, for our minds to act aligned with that, right? If we just kind of wake up and go, we may react. But if we pause to set an intention and say, I will be the heir to my actions, let me choose wise actions, let me choose patience, let me choose kindness, then it'll be easier to remember this throughout the day. Throughout the day, taking pauses whenever we feel there's a strong emotion that landed. Just taking a moment to shake it loose, like Susan teaches us, right? Just shake it loose, just move that energy. Whew, that was a hard conversation. That was a hard conversation, right? And maybe before telling somebody something else out of a reactive, right, response, defending ourselves or our ego, can we just take a moment to expand that pause between stimulus and response, right? And choose a wiser action. And then at the end of the day, in our evening reflection, just taking a few moments to very objectively and kindly assess which were the daily habits or the actions that I did today that brought me peace. What brought me peace, right? And it's so important to take note of that. What did I do that resulted in me feeling better, in me being able to go to sleep at night with more peace of mind, right? Because that is the direction of wholesomeness. And of course, every now and then we will do something that we will feel, disappointed or a little guilty. And this is where self compassion comes into practice, but also seeing that habit as, yeah, that created more suffering, more discursive thinking, more self blame. What can I learn from this? I mean, at the end of the day, when we did something, it didn't go right and it just all got messy, we can still learn from the experience and remind ourselves, well, what was my intention? And even to replay the situation and say, if I were to go through this experience again, what would I do differently so that I could be more aligned with my values and my intention to cultivate deeper peace of mind? So, thank you for your kind attention. I invite you to be mindful of your habits and enjoy the journey and just, cultivate inner peace. And we're all here now, so we will move into our meditation, which is what a wonderful action, right? Can we take a moment to maybe say, oh, yeah, we're here at the Daily Sit. We're saying yes to this practice, to whatever it is that we do here that helps us feel good and more mindful. So, taking a moment to acknowledge that this is a habit that many of you have cultivated for years on a daily basis, right? So you can start letting that in. What has coming to the daily sit with the Sangha? How is it nourishing me? How is that producing sweet karma in my body and my mind and my spirit? So gently stretch as much as you need. Finding a comfortable posture when you're ready, whether it's sitting or standing, whatever feels right for you. And as you sit, maybe bringing to mind your intention for practicing, for practicing mindfulness, for studying the Dharma, for being here. And tap into that noble intention, right? It'll be somewhere along the lines of full awakening, enlightenment, or more peace of mind, or more happiness. So just tap into that positive, good intention that is always at the background of your practice. Allow yourself to feel the company of Sangha. We're together, each one in our own spaces, but together, supporting each other. And start offering your body a sense of comfort, of solidity, of groundedness. Knowing also that when we're doing this, we're training the mind. We're training the mind in peace, in mindfulness, in deeper awareness. And so start feeling your body, your legs, your feet, your arms, your head and shoulders, your face. Just softening brow, the jaw, stretching your spine, elongating it as much as possible and as comfortable as you can be. And warming up that inner environment, just bringing up a positive intention that you have for the day or for this practice, an aspiration for peace. And let that remind you of your Buddha nature, of the goodness inside of you. As we all enter into a more quiet space here, as we practice mindful breathing and calming this nervous system, being at home with this body, mind, heart. Just softening, unclenching, making more room in the body for the breath to flow freely. And noticing the effect that this has had on you so far, the effect of stillness and quiet, the karma, so to speak, that arises due to our formal practice. In this last few minutes of our meditation together, perhaps if you feel inclined, just checking in with yourself, your intention for today, and even projecting to tonight, and asking yourself what kind of Karma, will you want to create the rest of the day? What's your intention? Thank you all for your practice, for being here. See if I can unmute you. Okay, should be able to unmute now.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank